That's the same storm system that's going to bring rain to Southern California before it gets here. And they're actually expecting fairly decent totals of rain, especially for that area. Angel, Mesquite, Texas does have chilly weather. Yeah, it's we've had, today wasn't so bad. Today we had highs close to 60 degrees, but we've had a real winter here in North Texas. It's been a while, I would say, since we've had something like that. But you're looking again at some of that video of firefighters observing and fighting the fires in Southern California. They've been awfully intense, and one of the reasons they get stuff like this is the Santa Ana winds. Those blow. Oh, you actually have audio of the video. I apologize. Let me move past the video. Thank you for letting me know. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better by now. So one of the things, what caused the fires to really spark and get out of control, that was the Santa Ana winds. And you may have heard this before. These are very dry winds. These are offshore winds originating from Southern California. You get these big upper level lows that come in, and they are big wind generators. And these winds will blow from onshore to offshore. So they're offshore winds. And it brings very dry air into these areas of Southern California. They're already drought stricken. Winds, they can be really strong, stronger than what you might expect even. They're named after Santa Ana Canyon, located in Orange County. So that area is where these winds originate. They typically occur from September to May, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about these Santa Ana winds because they are strong. They can be hurricane force winds. They can be stronger than a Category 1 hurricane even. And here's a little bit more about those winds that really sparked that fire. Again, the same storm system that spawned these Santa Ana winds, or the same storm system that brought us all our snow, was that 2 weeks ago now? Week and a half, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I lose track of time very easily, so it could have been a month ago for all I know. But here it is. These are the winds that are forced over and down elevated terrain. A little bit of science for you. Air that comes down from these mountains, it compresses. It's dry air. As the air sinks, the air actually compresses. The air gets warm, and a lot of times that air that comes down from the elevated terrain is very, very dry. All of the moisture has been kind of sucked out of it. Christian says, I'm interested to know, what do you have to do before going on air? That's a great question. A lot of forecasting goes into that, and I'm glad you asked. We'll talk about it now before we move on. A lot of forecasting involved. So, I spend my day, I usually start around noon. And at home, I'll start and I'll look at the latest data that comes in. There's data that comes in every 6 hours or so. The higher resolution data comes in hourly. I just look at all the brand new data. I log into our computers. I plug in my forecast that I've made on a sheet at home. I plug in all the numbers, plug in all the percentage of chance of rain, plugged in all the temperatures and all that stuff. And that's the basis for the 14 day. So I basically plug in all the info for the 14 day that I've forecasted. And then what I do is I get back into the graphics part of it, and I make the graphics that tell the story. So what's the story? Well, here are the things that you need to know. Like I think to myself, well, what is it that you need to know? What does Christian need to know about the weather coming up over the next 7 to 14 days? Number one, we're in a warming trend next week. Number two, really good chances for rain. This is just kind of chronological order. Really good chances for rain by the end of next week. More cold fronts are on the way. Maybe a couple more freezes over the next 14 days too. So I think to myself, how do I best graphically depict that? And I also think, well, I want to show some stuff about California and how they've had such a rough go of things and how they're actually getting a little bit of rain from the same storm system that's coming in our way. That's why I'm doing this now, actually. And in fact, going back to that, Santa Ana winds, they're forced down over the elevated terrain. Now, as the winds descend, they're compressed and warm. That's what I was saying. These winds come down from higher terrain. All of the moisture is completely removed. The air compresses, and when you have compression, you have warming. So that's a natural thing that happens, and that those very warm, very dry winds can be really strong. They can reach hurricane force winds very easily, 74 miles per hour. You've probably seen how fast these fires spread. If you have one small fire, it can get out of control very, very quickly in the drought-stricken areas in Southern California. And that's exactly what happened. Is you had winds blowing 74, 80, 85 mile per hour gusts at times. Those winds sweep through this area, and it takes embers. It takes other areas where there's what we call dry fuels, trees, Do you and the team communicate? Yes, we communicate all the time. Teresa even. We talk all the time. We have meetings. We talk about our forecast and everything like that. So yes, good question, Christian. We do communicate. We always stay in touch and make sure that we're on the same page with everything. Yes, these wildfires were spreading very rapidly, and one thing they desperately need is rain. Now it's kind of a, I believe, catch-22. Is that the right? You know, I almost said catch-21, Teresa, because I'm a big game show fanatic. I don't know if you know this or not. Come on over, Teresa. Catch-21. It was a game show hosted by Alfonso Ribeiro. I don't know if you know that or not.
I know who that is.
Anyway, I always get my sayings confused.
By the way, folks, I have to step up on a step in order to stand.
Here's Teresa, right here. Come on.
It's not.
There she is.
It's not cute if I'm flat-footed.
Actually, Teresa's 7 feet tall, and I also.
A girl can dream.
I'm standing in a pit actually, and Teresa is 7 feet tall. So I was going to talk to you a little bit about your side of the world. We talk about the meteorological side. I'm talking about Santa Ana winds, and I'm getting ready to talk about the scary part of, they're going to get rain. That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've already heard, and I know we've had reports yesterday that, there's a little bit of nerve that comes with that.
Because the fear, I think, is landslides, mudslides. Because if you think about it, all of the damage that's been done and all of the trees and the brush and everything that's now been burned away, it leaves, I would assume, just kind of a straight shot down. So if it starts to rain in the mountains or in the hills, it could easily come flowing down.
Yeah.
I was just reading that emergency managers out there have put like a 10 to 20% chance that there could be landslides or mudslides. They're saying clearly this is not a probability, but it's just enough for people to prepare. And I would imagine that in LA and the surrounding communities, they're so on edge.
Yes, they are.
That they want to prepare, and it's an unfortunate reality of where they are right now. But how do you forecast the potential for something like that?
Yeah, it's hard. So we, like Nancy says, it would be good to get rain there, and it would be good.
Absolutely, yeah.
It would, but as Teresa was just saying, there are at least concerns. You have this happened recently in New Mexico, Rio Doso, if you remember.
Yes, that was probably about a year to a year and a half ago. I remember this.
I was saying earlier, I lose track of time, but I know it was like recent, and I remember those burn-scarred areas, they become when I say slick, I don't mean like ice. I mean, all of this rain, it doesn't really absorb into the ground. It kind of becomes, it becomes hardened, and so if you get heavy enough rain, on these elevated areas, the rain falls, and then
there's no trees, there's no brush to soak it in.
Right, exactly. So the surface not as porous as it once was. So that's the concern you have in Southern California. So when we look at the rain, one of the biggest things, in fact, I'm going to pull this up now. One of the things
is it the rate at which it falls?
The rate, that's exactly right. So we know the coverage of rain is great. So we know we're going to have a really high coverage of rain.
Okay.
The concern we run into is that coverage of rain is it all going to come down at once?
Right.
And that's what you don't want. If you
it's the same thing we deal with here with flash flooding. If just one neighborhood gets a ton of rain in a short amount of time, if you think about it, we all know that is what can happen. We've all experienced that from time to time.
Yes, exactly. And we are the flash flooding capital of the world here. So we know how flash flooding works in North Texas, right? But
right.
But if you look at the amount of rain that we're expecting, Teresa, let me pull this map up. I mean, for North Texans, we see this map and we think, well, I mean, that's not a ton of rain, but
they haven't had any.
That's the thing. They're in moderate, severe, and extreme drought in Southern California. So if they get a quick half an inch to an inch and a half, it can be beneficial if it falls over a longer period of time. If you start getting these downpours in areas where the rain is heavier for that's when it becomes a little bit more worrisome, right? Right now, and you talked about that percentage, that chance is actually not very high.
That's good news.
So I think overall, really we have a better shot of seeing more benefit than harm from this.
That's good.
So
the people there need a break.
It was scary to see all
I
of
was
those
just looking at the containment of some of these fires.
Yeah.
And it's all an estimate. I mean, it's based on science and based on numbers, but they're estimating that the Palisades fire is finally now about 81% contained, which that's good news. That means they've made a lot of progress.
That's really good.
The Eaton fire, 95%, but down in San Diego, there's been a new fire that's popped up.
Really?
As of right now, I don't believe it's like threatening homes or things like that, but it's up to 6,600 acres and it's only 10% contained.
6,600 acres.
Which is large,
wow.
clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking at our map too, and I'll pull that back up. San Diego is also expecting a little bit of rain, so hopefully we can nip that in the bud as this starts.
So what's the timeline for the rain
Yeah.
out there? I mean, I know a lot of people are probably not traveling to LA in order to not add to the problem, but if you have family or you're just curious and you care about the people out there, there are fellow Americans going through a lot. So what's the timeline for everything?
So the timeline is going to be late tonight.
Okay.
They're going to start seeing some rain. And then really the bulk of the rain is going to fall Sunday. So, we talked about a half an inch to an inch and a half in some areas in Los Angeles County. That's going to fall mainly on Sunday. So that gives quite a bit of time for that to fall.
Okay.
You don't want it all at once. And thankfully, this doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So.
What's a good rate? Like just a nice, steady rain
question.
that would help, control some of these fires. You said an inch over 24 hours. Is that?
Which is great. So, you think about, so let's say we get a tenth of an inch an hour. That's not so bad.
Okay.
Right? So if you think about, just to give you an example, and Texans that are watching know this, we have thunderstorms here when we get flash flooding that can dump 2 to 3 inches of rain in an hour.
Yes.
If you get a tenth,
And we know what happens.
and we know what happens, and we see it all the time. So if you get a tenth of an inch an hour, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Maybe even a quarter, it should be fine, right? You start getting a little bit higher than that, that's when you run into problems. So, but if you take this inch and a half expected over about 24 hours,
You like the way that sounds.
it should be okay. Now, there will be, it's not like it's going to be raining every hour of those 24.
Yeah.
But it is going to be kind of spread out. So
Okay.
and just like you said with the emergency managers there,
They
when
put like
say
a 10 to 20% chance on having some landslides or mudslides.
they're obviously experts as well, just based on the data I looked. I'm so in that same ballpark. It's not really looking like it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be more benefit than danger.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can
and
I show you
this
something?
rain is coming our way.
Yeah, I wanted to show you that. In fact, that's what I'm going to show you next. And Teresa, if you don't mind, if you stick around here, I'm going to give the forecast for us.
You got it.
I want to show you some snow stuff
All
too,
right.
if that's okay.
I'm going to step away, do a couple things on my computer, holler at me when you're ready.
I'll do that.
I'll be back.
All right. Here I am again. Hello there. All right. So, yeah, Christian, we do build our own graphics, and Cassie is wonderful, our brand new meteorologist. Cassie, yes. Nancy, when you have hilly areas and there are no longer trees to catch debris. Yeah, exactly. Nancy brings up the point that, and I'm sorry, Nancy, I just saw your comment, but yes. By the way, forgive me for not even saying this. My brain, we've been talking about fire and stuff. For the Facebook viewers, we're over on WFAA Plus right now, and if you haven't downloaded it, you should. WFAA, we're going to try to do more of these conversations. WFAA Plus, go down and bear with us as we start getting our bearings here and figure out all the tech stuff. But WFAA Plus, we will be streaming over there. We're doing it right now. You can download it on Roku, Fire TV, Amazon, and Apple TV. You can watch us there live. You can interact with us as well. But we're taking some questions here, and yeah, we'll be trying to do more of these and more sciencey things here in the near future. All right, let's see. Let's talk about our forecast. So we showed you the rain that's coming to Southern California. That system is going to bring us rain, and the best chance for that rain really looks to be mid to end week. So Wednesday, we've got about a 40% chance. It's going to be a slow mover, which again, for us, brings us daily chances for rain. Wednesday, it's a 40% coverage. Thursday, it's up to 80. Thursday night really looks to be the peak of the rain coverage. And then Friday, 70%. Then this storm system moves out. We're on the backside where there's sinking air. We drop the rain coverage just in time for next weekend. Saturday, 0%, so we're not worried about some sort of washout next Saturday. Let me show you the timeline. And look, even Monday morning, a little bit of rain. That pink stuff, that's higher elevation, wintry mix and snow. A little bit of rain there in Southern California. But as we go through Monday, you see what happens, right? The storm system moves into the southwest, and it's going to kind of hang out there for a while. It's not really in a hurry to move as it kind of stays to the southwest, which will send us daily chances for rain. So I'll kind of come back to this view here, and you'll see scattered showers Wednesday morning. Notice the coverage not very high, but my goodness, right? You get into Thursday, look at that. It's pretty widespread rain Thursday, getting into Friday too. So we have widespread rain in the forecast Thursday night, and then depending on the speed of this, and it looks like it may linger into Friday, we'll have some pretty widespread rain Friday morning, likely coming to an end Friday afternoon. So that is something that you'll want to keep in mind if you have any outdoor plans Thursday or Friday. I know most of the plans are actually on the weekend. But if you have Thursday or Friday plans outside, just know that we have a slow-moving storm system coming our way, and daily chances for rain are expected to be on the way. How much rain? A decent amount. And when you accumulate all the rain we're expecting between Sunday and next Friday, 1 to 2 inches of rain, that's what we have in the forecast. So it's going to be a good soaking rain that comes into North Texas. That is accumulated over those 6 days. Most of that rain is going to fall Thursday night, and Friday. Okay, so going into, I say the next 6 days, that means a very small amount of rain is possible tomorrow. We're talking sprinkles or a light shower. Monday is dry. Tuesday, Wednesday, very lower chances of rain, but then Thursday, Friday, that's when the bulk of the precip moves in, and that's when we see it. All right, there's that. Let me show you again that rain coverage chart. There you go. 80% coverage Thursday, Friday 70. That's kind of when the parent storm system is around, and we could use the rain. Better than the snow, I think. I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for everyone because I know some people, I run into folks out at the grocery store all the time. They're like, well, I like winter. I'm like, well, okay. If you say so, I guess. I'm glad. Carla, I just want to know if I need to drip the faucets overnight. You don't. No, actually, you'll be totally fine tonight. Let me show you. Lows tonight will be warm enough that you actually do not have to. The low tonight, pop it up, 43. That's well above freezing, so you're going to be totally fine and not have to worry about dripping the faucets. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit of snow before we go. We've got just a few more minutes. What a crazy rare winter storm that just blew through the Gulf Coast. My family lives in Houston still. My brother, my nephews, my niece, their kid, all sorts of family in Houston, sending me pictures of snow. Now, I grew up in Houston. I don't remember seeing anything except for a little bit of ice here or there, certainly not seeing snow. Especially several inches of snow along the Gulf Coast. And this was a historic winter storm for several reasons. Number one, first ever issued blizzard warning in far east Texas. It's in southeast Texas and southern Louisiana. Can you believe that? A blizzard warning in effect along the Gulf Coast. Then you had winter storm warnings expanding almost the entirety of the Gulf Coast. The exception would be the west coast of Florida and then, of course, very far south Texas, they're not included. But man, several inches of snow fell in those areas. Yes, temps stay above freezing. How are we feeling about severe weather with this system? It's going to be we're going to be on the cool side of things, so not expecting it. There will be some thunder and lightning, but no severe weather is in the forecast. Thank you, Becca, for that question. Yeah, not expecting severe weather with this. All right, let me show you this cool photo. I think this is a neat photo. Teresa, if you have a second, we're actually going to be off of here very soon. I'll bring you back in if you don't mind. Let's see. Look at this photo. I don't know if you can see it from here. 1 second. There's Teresa. Hold on one second. There we go. You see this stuff right here along the Gulf Coast?
I do.
That's snow. Isn't that crazy?
You would definitely assume it's clouds.
Isn't that weird? Right. So
yeah.
This visible satellite image shows all of the snow that fell, and it was perfectly aligned if we go back. If I go back one map here, you'll see the winter storm warnings that were in effect for that entire area, the blizzard warnings, and then you go to the satellite image and you can see why. Yeah. That is wild.
Crazy. I was fascinated by some of the pictures I saw of snow on the beach.
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
You know, one of our former colleagues, Charlotte Huffman, she was an investigative reporter here for a number of years. Anyway, she happened to be on the Florida beach, and she posted a picture, and I thought, oh my gosh, her kids, cute little adorable daughters, were playing in the snow on the beach. And is this a snow?
Yeah, I was going to show you that actually.
Oh,
let me bring
word.
this in, like this here.
Look at this.
This was Gulf Shores, Alabama. You're not making sand castles. You're making snowmen.
So
it's crazy.
Okay, so I saw that New Orleans had about maybe 7 or 8 inches on record. Baton Rouge had about 7 or 8 inches. What was the high? And these were records, right?
Yeah.
What was the highest amount? Do you know which city, which area had the most?
The one that forgive me, I knew this would happen. I had it in my mind earlier.
I put you on the spot.
No, I knew this was going to happen. The Panhandle of Florida. First of all, Florida, the state, and I'll have to get the town for you later. Forgive me, and if you know it, please let me know. Saw the highest snowfall amount ever for the state. And that was up in the Panhandle of Florida.
Wow.
It was like 11 inches of snow.
My, 11 inches. It was crazy for me to think about these people who, they move to the beach. They probably are snowbirds. They get away from it all, and all of a sudden the snow comes, and they don't have coats. I mean, I don't have the kind of coats that I used to have when I was a reporter up in St. Louis because I don't need them down here, You
just imagine everything shuts down, right? Like it does here.
I know. But yeah, you don't have coats. A friend of mine, my husband's from Houston, have a lot of friends in Houston, and a girl I know who used to work in television there posted that her neighbors were out wearing Ziploc baggies over their hands because they don't own any gloves.
Whatever it takes.
To play in the snow.
Whatever it takes. Yeah, it's whatever it takes, I guess.
know,
you have to improvise when you get into these situations.
Completely. But I guess one other question for you.
Yeah.
These are clearly extremes. When we talk about the fires in California, we talk about no rain falling for months in California. Then we talk about extremes with snow falling in places where it normally never falls. What does that tell you about just sort of the world we live in now? To me, it feels like, as we've said, things do seem to be getting more and more extreme.
Yeah, we're getting some weird weather lately.
We are.
Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's been such a bizarre. I'm trying to think back. We ourselves saw, a good 5 to 8 inches of snow across parts of the Metroplex.
Yeah.
It's, things are changing.
Yeah.
The world that we live in is certainly changing, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, well, the places that are seeing extremes it's unpredictable now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you could say, well, the snow is going to stay in the Northeast, the snow is going to stay in the upper Midwest. Maybe it'll dip down a little bit here and there. But now it just feels like anywhere in the U.S., you just don't know.
You've given me an interesting, and we'll leave with this. I know we only have a couple minutes, but you were telling me you had connections to the terrible area that was flooded.
Oh, in Asheville.
In Asheville. You used to live there, is that
right?
right?
Well, we lived in Knoxville for a number of years, and Asheville's only a couple of hours from there. We used to go to visit Asheville all the time. Whenever somebody would come to Knoxville to visit us, we would almost always make the trip over to Asheville, North Carolina. And yeah, it was reminiscent of that when you do see the damage in California is so extreme, so massive, and then you see the damage in North Carolina. Clearly, two different things. You're dealing with fire and you're dealing with water.
Right.
But the damage is complete.
Awful.
Yes, no matter what it's caused by. But yes, the people of Western North Carolina are some of the most wonderful people. And yeah, I did know some people who own property there, and thankfully they got out relatively unscathed. Some people who recently moved there too. But and they're still recovering. And I think that's what's so sad, Jesse, is that these things make the news, and then we go on to the other terrible thing that happens, and that makes the news. And sometimes we forget that the people who, were in trouble 6 weeks ago are still in trouble. They're still recovering, and it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, thankfully, things are getting a little bit better in Southern California.
Yes.
I know we were talking containment. That's where we'll leave you. The containment getting better in Southern California. They're going to get a little bit of rain. That's the same storm system that's going to bring us rain. And guess what? I'm going to talk all about it. Teresa's going to be there too. We're WFAA Plus. Listen, if you're watching on Facebook right now, download WFAA Plus, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV. You can watch us for free. We're going to be there at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Right? We're going to have some news at 6 o'clock because the Mavericks are playing right now.
That's tip-off, I think.
Yeah, tip-off is
Soon.
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes or so. So our newscast, we won't have a newscast on WFAA, but we will have one at 6 p.m. And you're going to catch all the latest tonight at 10. And we have a lot of rain to talk about. So thanks for joining us. We will see you there.